Hey, it's Drybear. It's been a minute, but we're back online now, so let's get caught up on all that's going on. Late last night, the TFD devs did a dev livestream going over Season 2, Episode 2 with Ultimate Blair, so let's walk through everything that's changing in the upcoming update on April 17th. Starting with some of the live issues that they've talked about. I know I haven't been covering some of the stuff over the last couple of weeks. I've been offline for some of that, but they did want to mention, at least highlighting some of the challenges they've been facing over the last couple of weeks. We had a big Descendant balance patch coming live that made major sweeping changes to a lot of the characters. Some very, unpopular or weak characters have come into the limelight now. But also the biggest thing that impacted the community recently was with that balance patch, they nerfed Inez primarily by making her chain lightning require line of sight. And so that was a big point of confusion for the community. And they've sworn with this update that they will be more communicative in the future, explaining why they make changes and preparing people for the change before just dropping it. I know there were like review bombings going on. People were just doing negative reviews in the game because they heavily invested into Inez. They were loving Inez, and then Inez gets nerfed and they're not so happy about it. So let me know what you think about this going down below. It doesn't seem like they're going to be walking back the Inez changes or any of the buffs that the characters got in the balance patch recently. However, they did say that going forward, they're going to explain the changes better in advance, so it's not as much of a surprise when you kind of wake up one day and your favorite character got nerfed. They're also going to be making some Void Erosion Purge improvements by separating out the challenge version from the normal grind version, which we'll get into when we dive into the actual meat and potatoes of the April 17th update. Now, in this, they talked about the May update as well as the Season 2, Episode 2 April update, which is coming on April 17th, which is just a week from today. So next week on Thursday, we'll be getting the update. This will include Ultimate Blair, a Blair storyline for that, a whole bunch, 5 new external components, some updates to the leaderboard system and Void Erosion, some quality of life, some new skins and content, and some new events all that as well. And then there's a May update that they talked about, which we'll get into later in the video as well, but this is the basic outline. Now, one thing to be aware of is not only are they introducing Ultimate Blair into the game, but they're also going to be reworking some of his abilities, and also with the 2 new red mods that he's getting with the Ultimate, they do change his kit quite significantly. Both of them alter his abilities in pretty unique ways, creating meatballs, projectiles, flamethrowers, or even like a Sharon style targeting thing, which is pretty cool. Now, overall, I was kind of impressed with the showcase for Ultimate Blair. It's hard to tell. I mean, this is full build with full mods on the character, and given the fact that the damage numbers in the test area are usually very inflated, seeing 500,000 and a million here is not super crazy, but I do hope that there's some really strong opportunities for Blair going into this. So his first red mod is Killer Recipe. This is going to modify like 3 of his abilities to create a lot more opportunities to apply burn and then detonate that with a targeter, which I think is going to be really cool overall. It does create a brand new playstyle for Blair with this, along with the other red mod that's coming online. So it'll make his 1 into like this rapid fire machine gun fireball spamming ability, which create this really big opportunity to just deal damage with skill, which I think Blair is very good at, especially after the last balance patch. It also changes his 4 into kind of like a Sharon ultimate, but a little bit more clean. So he'll activate it, create a fireball, he can mark targets, and then release to shoot all the targets out to deal damage that way. And there's also some scaling with like burning targets on top of everything and the passive as well. So hopefully this becomes a very viable build option for him using this red mod. The next red mod is Next Level Arson, and this will actually create a flame carpet when you're running. So you can activate your first ability and then just run. It's kind of like the Venom Trail for Freyna, and also for the Frost Trail for Viessa, but it's actually quite large as well. He does seem to have some skill extension and some range on the reactor here for this build, but it will create kind of like this AoE area. The weird thing is, I kind of wish it was a little more similar to Contagion, although that may create some performance issues, but in general, you'll be able to use this as a way to spread fire everywhere. Now, one of the complaints that people have had for Blair ever since his inception is the fact that he has to get in melee range to apply this carpet. This will mean that you'll be able to spread more carpet more consistently, and maybe even with a max level of duration and skill effect range, it kind of turns him into a mixture of like Valby and potentially even Freyna as well, with without the contagion spreading on top of everything else. It also changes his third ability to give a little bit more of a fire explosion in front and widens his flamethrower. So you'll be able to run around spreading the fire on the ground and then using his, it's kind of like a wedge actually. So you can see the flamethrower is much bigger and more effective. So you can have those rolling as you're running around and create more fire that way. Again, there's going to be questions on whether it's strong enough or the numbers are there, but in general, I think it's nice to have more options for Blair. I think the ultimate Blair looks really cool. The story seems like it's going to be really fun and should be a good addition to the game. There's also going to be an ultimate Blair skin that comes along with this. This one reminds me of the evolving skin for Ajax that we got a while back, but it is pretty cool. This one is a spicy tamale, so it's kind of like this look here. The back attachment seems pretty cool and it should be a nice addition. Hopefully that one's global as well. Looks like they got a bit of a bug there with the skin showing up, but it is a kind of a nice showing for that. Hopefully this one is one that people pick up for Blair. It kind of fits him in his style. Now with April 17th, they're adding in 5 new external component sets. This gives us a very big boost in the viability of using certain builds. Some of these will probably fit perfectly into the builds you're looking for, like Plague for Keelan or for Freyna, and some may be a little bit harder to figure out how to use them, like Moving Fortress, but in general, it's nice to have these put in. I do want them to actually go back and buff some of the ones that aren't being used right now, because a lot of people end up just using Slayer for everything, unless you're running a very specific niche build, but in general, it's nice to have these. So let's walk through what the set bonuses are for these 5 new component sets. The first one is Firebrand. This will give skill effect range. One thing you'll notice about all 5 of these is they're adding in for the 4 set a negative along with some positives. They love the kiss curse idea of game design in general, so they're going to see a lot of these here where you'll get some negative, but hopefully it gets balanced out with the build you're looking for. So for Firebrand, you get skill effect range on the 2 set. The 4 set reduces your movement speed, but allows you to reduce fire resistance on the target if you do a fire skill on a target that's already burning, which is really nice. So it works perfectly for Blair. Resistances in this game have been very ineffective in general. Lowering the target's resistance generally is kind of nice if you can get it for free. I don't know if it's going to be better than other 4 set options, but having skill effect range on a 2 set is going to open some opportunities for some builds out there. Next is the Plague auxiliary power set, or the Plague external component set. This will give a scale to tech power and singular power, which is a nice 2 set bonus. Again, you could use this on non-toxic characters just to get the extra tech or the extra singular, or maybe even there are builds out there where you would use tech and singular. And then for the 4 set, it lowers your max shield by 24%, but it gives you a global toxic skill power scaler. And then for Keelan specifically, when you acquire a custom resource, it also gives you skill power modifier for toxic. So I think Keelan will be able to use this one pretty successfully, getting a double dipper there, but you could probably even run this on potentially Freyna as well for the toxic skill power scaler in general. Next is the Enlightened Mage skill power bonus on the 2 set. The 4 set has a reduction in firearm attack, but also allows you to get bonus non-attribute skill power by a large amount every time you use a non-attribute skill. So I think for like Plop Valby, where you're throwing out the drop over and over and over, maybe even with some of the Glay builds as well, where you're spamming non-attribute skills, getting those stacks, and then being able to use it to be able to get skill power. This is a pretty large skill power increase there, so that kind of increases more options for the non-attribute scalers on top of just using the Peacemaker as an option for scaling as well. This next one, a little bit more niche. This is Moving Fortress. The 2 set gives you a defense percent increase. This kind of replaces the Tomb Vanguard in general. Then the 4 set lowers your firearm crit rate and crit damage, but also gives you, I'm assuming, a reduction in overall incoming damage. The way they worded it here is a little weird, but in general, it's a percentage of your defense also gets applied to your global incoming damage reduction. So it gives you more options for that there. I think to take this all the way, they need to add in more options for defensive characters to convert defense into damage, but having an option that gives you more defense scaling, I think is going to be really awesome. I think, you know, there are some tanky builds out there, like the Freyna immunity build, or like the Inez immunity build, or super tanky builds for like Enzo or Ajax or Kyle, but I think there needs to be a little bit more in converting there for you to want to use this over other options that might just be giving you damage because you have so much defense from other sources in general. Lastly is the Shell Crusher. This one gives fire rate 5% on the 2 set. Remember, the only reason they can do this is because recently in the Serena update, they put a hard cap on weapon fire rate. So you will hit, what is it, like 2,000 rounds per minute. Once you hit that amount, you won't be able to go up any higher anymore. Like you just won't get any more fire rate. So because they have that hard cap, it's safer for them to do a non-weapon related bonus to fire rate. So just be wary of your fire rate. But if you're not at the cap already, being able to get fire rate from your external components, I think is a nice addition. Then they also made it so on the 4 set, this allows you to do skill damage to anti-void shields or firearm damage to anti-arcane shields without requiring the specific ones there. So I think this is going to help with like Sigma Sector or with the void, the ship in the ship thing where you go into the ship and fight them. Being able to counter anti-void and anti-arcane with the opposite, I think is going to be really cool. And a 2 set that has fire rate, I think is a nice addition. They're also doing new mods. They're adding a elemental resistance battle suit, which is a Cerulean Descendant mod that fits in the Architect category, which will allow you to take damage of an attribute and then gain resistance to that attribute based on a percentage of your defense. So it means that when you're going against very specific attribute style, like toxic or fire on specific enemies, you'll be able to convert that defense into it, which hopefully has some nice scaling to it as well. And they also added in another battle proficiency option for weapons that allows you to, upon weak point attack, gain attribute attack scaling and allows you to do bonus firearm damage to void shields and arcane shields, kind of allowing you for more avenues to deal with those mechanics, dealing with the opposite there as well. They also announced some changes for the Void Erosion Purge. And so the way they've described it, they actually didn't show any UI for this, but the way they described it is they want to have a Void Erosion Purge that is just for farming the core upgrades for your weapons, and a Void Erosion Purge that is more prestige, challenging, leaderboard focused. So they're converting the current Void Erosion Purge 1 through 30 to be a little bit easier and more accessible and focused on farming. Then they're going to be adding another 30 levels that will be focused on the leaderboard and will keep going up and up in difficulty, getting harder and harder and harder, so that there's a clearer divide between challenge content and farming content, which I think is going to be good for most people that are playing the game in general. On top of that, they did say that every level that you complete on the challenge version will have its own rewards. They're also adding in a new content type, medals, that will come with this as well. And those medals look like this, and this is going to be a tag that you can put next to your name, so you can walk around with this. These are basically just a prestige item you can get for playing the game for a long time. They said they're going to retroactively add in medals for people that have been playing and accomplishing things all along. When you get medals additional times, they will star up and get cooler. And you can put this next to your character name in game or in the menu as well. And it's just a new cosmetic item that you can unlock through playing the game in general. They also announced a growth option for increasing the stats on existing reactors and external components. Now, the way this, I would assume this works, is you would just spend these resources to increase the stat on it. It doesn't show that this goes from like purple to gold or blue to purple, but increasing it is nice. I would assume that you would be able to take like a blue stat if you wanted to spend in all the resources on that. It does seem to be kind of pricey, but if you wanted to, you can increase the amount on like a blue all the way up to gold if you wanted to. It does seem like they would be able to reach that there, but at least on what they showed, it's only purple to purple here. So hopefully it goes all the way up to the tippy top, so you can like take like a purple up to gold and then to the maximum gold if you just kept upgrading it, which I think is going to make farming for reactors and the perfect stat rolls on externals a lot easier. They also mentioned some quality of life improvements. We'll just run through these because they just showed this as a text in general. They are going to be making it so that for Serena, you'll be able to hide the wings on her common skin. Hopefully this applies to all Serena skins in general, but they're going to add functionality in the April update to be able to hide the wings from Serena, which I think is pretty cool. They briefly mentioned that they're going to be removing void shards. Now, they specifically said when they were talking about it that they were going to remove the void shard cost of opening amorphous materials at the void reactor, which is the only place you use them right now. So if that goes away, void shards are effectively dead, and they've been giving them out as a reward for events and stuff too. You get boxes that has all 4 types in them. So I'm curious if this just means they're going to get rid of them in general, but those going away is part of it. They also mentioned that the hard special operations are going to give you more RK Factor EXP, just to make that a little bit more interesting. And they're also going to increase the Descendant and Weapon XP gain in Sigma Sector. You have to do a lot of Sigma Sector to get maxed out on your RK tuning, so being able to level your characters and weapons as part of that, I think, is going to be a nice addition as well. And they're also going to add more energy control cores as part of that process too. They also are going to be making it so that when you craft a weapon, an ultimate weapon, it will always have its unique effect. Like, you don't have to make 5 of the same weapon to get it to 4 out of 4 on the unique effect passive. Once it's maxed out for good. You're done. You're good to go. If you make a 6th one, it will be 4 out of 4 automatically, which is nice. And they're also going to make it so the core unlock is only 1 time. So if you core unlock a weapon, it will always be core unlocked. If you max out the unique effect, it will always be maxed out. And so if you wanted to, you could make multiple of the same weapon for different elements and things like that. It's not super sexy as a headline, but they are improving the NPE, the new player experience, with various additions, making Ultimate Bunny easier to get with some better guides, reduction in main quests, some streamlining and things like that. So if you're trying to get friends into the game, there is some changes coming to the NPE to make it a little bit better. Moving on to skins for the patch, we are getting the corn skin, so you'll be able to get this. They showed this originally as only for male, but it looks like they, since they have Lepic and Viesa here, obviously it's going to be for male and female. It's a general common skin shared across all, so if you wanted to be a Maze of Corn, now you can. They also showed off some of the schoolgirl outfits coming to the game as well. There's one for all the female descendants in the game, and they all are pretty different. I mean, obviously they reshare some things here, like with the attachments of like the overlay of the ribbons or the buttons or some of like the shoes that they wear, but in general there's going to be a unique one for each of the female descendants in the game. Apparently the schools in Albion only have females. There's no males that attend school. They're all busy wearing corn outfits, but this is going to be a nice addition to the game, just more outfits coming along, and I know these are generally just very popular for people. Can also expect new events coming with this patch as well, and honestly they've been doing a great job with the events. There's tons of events going on with lots of great rewards, and they've really ramped it up since launch and have been doing a great job with it, so more of those coming. You can see there's like, the transfer item, there's catalyst, there's activators, all kinds of things coming, so there's going to be more of these coming with this patch as well. They'll also be giving out a free Easter emote where you pop out of the egg and do a pose, which is pretty cool, plus 1,000,000 gold, so make sure you're logging in after the patch on the 17th to get this unlocked for free. They also went over at a very high level what's coming in May, so they're going to be adding sockets to arcade tuning, a new Void Abyss boss, Ice Maiden, which is kind of expected, new rotation for hard special operations, Party Finder, which is going to be a big addition. They need to make that so much better, because especially with the player base kind of steady where it is now, helping people find each other to play together, I think is going to be really nice. Core M changes, additions to the preset system where you can reorder presets, add in version reinforcement to the presets as well, which is going to be really big, all those systems there. And then I think the big one that is the takeaway here, which is this top one called Dynamic Motion. They're just trying to make a more PG representation for this, but this is jiggle physics, which is basically adding in a system that allows gravity to affect masses on characters as they move around and animate, do emotes, walk around, jump and stuff like that. There's going to be parts of their body that carry weight and mass and has gravity and physics apply to those, then they will react in kind. Now they actually demoed this a little bit on streams. I didn't think they were going to do it, but they actually did. But it seems like they focused mostly on the upper body as far as like other areas that should normally have gravitational impact on the way they animate and move. And then also they only showed 2 characters, Serena and Ultimate Bunny, on this as well. But I think this is kind of like a big win. A lot of people were looking forward to this and very excited for this. The chat was blowing up. Everyone was throwing W's and thumbs up emojis and fire emojis and things like that. And honestly, it being a UE5 game, I think it kind of makes sense for them to have as much realism in how they represent the characters as well and how some of those work. So if you've been looking forward to dynamic motion as an addition to the game, and Huge congrats. It's coming in May. Dynamic motion is on the way. So that's everything that they talked about in their 2-hour live session, going over everything coming to First Descendant. Let me know what you think about this update down below and what you're looking forward to most on the April 17th change. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.